When life gets overwhelming, I just go ghost. They say my life deserve a camera, I'm a GoPro. I grew up West Indiana, West Coast. Yeah, back is too cold. Jumping like Jordan, but my money talks cool. Clean the house by the lake, just so I could buy a new boat. Nigga, if that wave, I'ma surf, we don't do both. Still in the yacht club, bro, in the Glock club. Shots here just fine, real line, nigga chocolate. I want peace from all. When life gets overwhelming, I just go ghost. They say my life deserve a camera, I'm a GoPro. I grew up West Indiana, West Coast. Yeah, back is too cold. Jumping like Jordan, but my money talks cool. Clean the house by the lake, just so I could buy a new boat. Nigga, if that wave, I'ma surf, we don't do both. Still in the yacht club, bro, in the Glock club. Shots here just fine, real line, nigga chocolate. Nigga chocolate.
So I wanted to show you, first of all, a few notes that I have here. Yes, it looks like something out of A Beautiful Mind, but take a look. So here is the saltwater cell. Now the manual claims that the saltwater cell by itself is 12, and for the most part, the manual was pretty accurate. I have to say, I'm very impressed. So if we look at the manual here, the manual states that the cell itself is, and look, I with the units, it's 15 3/4. Let's see if that's accurate. So the union, so the question they're like, well, with the unions, what does that mean? Like the initial slip, you know, the whole thing. So I did the math and I did the slip with the collar and I realized what they're talking about. 1 11/16 is the measurement of the whole union from edge to edge. Then when you add it to 12 5/16, I know someone said it's, there's another video that someone said it's 12 6/16, or technically 12 3/8. But mine was 12 5/16, so I stayed to that. But if we think about it, because I did do 13 3/4, I am saying 12 3/8. It doesn't matter, it's such a small difference. So when I did the math, and I added 1 11/16 twice, right? Because there's two unions and the cell, I came out to 15.68 inches. The manual says 15.75. The difference, 0.07 inches, which is negligible. Now, again, the manual says you're gonna cut 13 3/4. I was like, well, so where did they get that number? So I did the math, and so if you go 12 3/8 or 12 5/16, even though that's not 3/8, but you get what I'm saying, close enough. And then you add 1 inch. So a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. You get 13 5/16, which is still a little under. But what they're talking about is, look, the union is gonna slip in. Well, not the union, excuse me. So we know the measurement of the whole union is 1 11/16, okay? But there is a 1/2 inch of like a solid piece that is equivalent to this. It lines up with that. That is 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is 1 inch. So 12 5/16 plus 1 is 13 5/16. It's still not 13.75, which is, this difference is a little negligible. But it may not be. But the bottom line is, because you're going to do some slipping in anyways, right? When you fit the union, it slips in about 1/2 inch. I think either way, they do have a point. Like, you don't have to worry too much. Again, if you look at the manual says tip, glue one union first, then gluing the second union, use the cell body to gauge the final difference between each union. Make small adjustments to the second union slip while the glue is still wet. Your working time, and I'm here in winter and I'm using pool heavy glue, which is more workable than any other glues on the market. It tightened so quickly, like it glued so insanely quickly that it was insane. So what I would say is you have to you can maybe nudge it out immediately, but you have to notice it right away. So in any case, it's fine. It's not a big deal, but I had a perfect fit, thankfully, and I just had to pull the pipe slightly back Not like the pipe had to be bent, but you know, I just had to pull it a little bit because it was a perfectly tight fit edge to edge. So edge to edge, there was no looseness between the fitting, which is ideal. You want it to be kind of tight where there is pressure pushing into these rather than, you know, loosey-goosey. So again, so hopefully that was helpful to you guys. I am not going to be going over the electrical work. Hire an electrician. I'm not going to take responsibility if someone dies. Here's the Craftsman hacksaw, and here's the actual model, in case someone was wondering what the actual model is. This. So this was like, I think like only like a few dollars, but it's the 12-inch 24T hacksaw. Okay. All right, guys. Hope this was helpful for you. What you're gonna need is your salt cell and a hacksaw, and then you're gonna begin cutting. So here we have the pipe. Now the pipe is obviously already marked. As you can see, this is the length of pipe that we have to work with, and there's union elbows, and the flow control switch can go before or after the salt water. So as you can see, I'm working in a very narrow pipe here, and you don't want to do it near a union. So that union being very close to the flow control it's a bad idea. So in my case, I'm going to be putting the flow control towards the front, not here. So these are marked, and this is 13 3/4, and it's already marked for the length of the salt cell. I'm going to include the measurements in the description below. But as you can see, this was 13 and 12 and something, and then 12 and 5/16. I gave you guys the measurements at the beginning. And then obviously we have a 1/2 inch for those unions. So we're going to go ahead and cut these pipes, and these have been marked for 13 3/4. Now before you begin, you want to open up your pump basket, and then you want to open up the pressure valve on your filter. Let that kind of come up so the water comes up, and so there's less pressure on the pipe. All right, so that's open, and the pump is open. So you can actually see what's going on. The pump is draining the water below the pipeline. So what's happening is all this water is filtering and it's basically decreasing. So when I cut, it's not going to explode on me. So we're just started cutting into it. You're still going to hear the flow. Once you've let out the pressure, close the gauge, start cutting into your pipe, and don't be afraid. You could see there's a lot of flex here. And we're just cutting, trying to cut through. It's not really there yet. But okay, so we just cut it. That pipe fell, and that's normal. That's okay, because there's a connection gasket there that can be adjusted. Now we're just going to ensure the measurements are accurate according to the cut. You might be wibbly wobbly, so just to ensure that the cuts are accurate, I think I cut pretty straight. Exactly correct, 13 3/4. According to the manual. Now what we want to do is, you have all these rough edges on your pipe. These are called burrs. That's why I have 70 grit sandpaper. Doesn't matter. You can either do 70, you could do P220. We need to clean the burr and ensure there's none of that frill, because, and again, I'm just rubbing against that, and you could see the pipe has already kind of cleaned it. Putting the second one here on this pipe, all right? So here we go. And in order to not have too much of this going on, hold the pipe, or you can actually, if you want, if you're desperate, this is something, they call this like Schedule 40 D2466, whatever that is. It's some kind of stand. So you can actually get this in. Let me show you guys what I mean. You can actually just kind of get that in. You see? Not as much flex because it's like someone holding it there for you. But it's a little wibbly wobbly. Okay, now we're gonna cut right here. Make sure my cut is accurate. Look from the top. Always make sure. Look from the top and oh shit. This angle, just to kind of get the groove. No, I see. I missed it by slightly. Right there. That's the line right there. Now that I have a little groove, I can now seat my blade very easily and not worry about, because initially it'll wibble wobble. So get a little groove. See that little groove? And then you have a resting point. And then you just cut. I have a very narrow cutting because of this thing right here, so not every cut is gonna be as easy, but if I can do it, oh shit, missed it a little bit, you can do it. Wibbling wobbling a lot, but that's okay. It's okay if it's a little bit crooked. My mark is slightly too, it's a little bit more like this because as you saw, my technique was a little wrong, but kind of like when you don't cut the cheese correctly, you know, but for the most part it is good, so I'm not going to try and adjust that. This is going to create more problems. I might cut the pipe too much like this, so if it's a little too much on one end and it's skewed like that, it's fine, but if it's like that, then maybe you might have to cut more pipe. But okay, cut. It's time to join the union to that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put primer, right? We're gonna put primer, and then we're gonna put the glue. Some people just do primer on the union, and then glue only on the pipe. I like to do both, right? Why not do glue on the inside of this too? I know a lot of professionals, they'll put glue on the inside, so we're gonna put the glue on the inside as well. Now, one thing I want to note is that the way that it's been measured here is, so we're just gonna see, I'm pretty sure I cut it accurate. So this is how much distance I wanted from the pipe for future in case, and then the flow switch here, the 4-inch, will just go like right around there. So hopefully you cut this right using math. It's not a fit. You can see it didn't fit, so I need to cut maybe a little bit more to compensate for that. So actually, turns out it is a perfect fit. I just had to pull the pipe back and jam it in there. So before you make any more cuts and jump to that conclusion, just check, okay? So now we're gonna glue the unions, primer on one, and we're gonna do one at a time, one side, and then we're gonna wait 24 hours to cure, and then we're gonna take everything inside. We're not gonna do the flow switch today because there's nothing there. You see, so if I cut there, this little piece will just fall off. So it has to be threaded, and then that can be glued. So there has to be a replacement for all this pipe we cut. So now we're gonna go ahead and fit our union pieces in. There is a 1 4/16, or there's like a 1 4/16 fitting. It's a slip fitting, but they call this a union because you have a 1/2 inch of this that will, you know, rest against the saltwater generator, as I showed you guys. So remember, each of these is about 1/2 inch. So if you go 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, the cell is 12 and something, it becomes 13 3/4. So they were correct on the manual for my unit, but make sure, do your math, you never know. So we're gonna take weld-on primer. Be careful, this thing can eat your skin away. And this is the weld-on primer here. Just make sure that your threaded ring, do not forget this, because once you put this sucker on, you won't be able to fit the thread. You won't be able to fit the collar. Once you put this on, you're screwed if you don't have this. So do not forget this. Just for safety, I've already went ahead and put them on both sides because I'm not taking the risk in forgetting. We're just gonna make sure that our edges are clean. Again, it's okay if there's a little bit of burr, but so far everything. That cut is my best, but again, I feel like here my cut was a little bad because I kept dinging into this and I kept adding vibrations that, you know. So anyways, it doesn't matter as long as you're not too off. So gonna rest. Oh, one more thing, guys, make sure you have these gaskets. You really need to make sure the gaskets are on. They come with the unit. If you don't have this gasket on, you're gonna be off by about 2/16 of an inch. So make sure this gasket is really pushed in. These little gaskets, you can see, again, these O-rings, they come with O-rings. If yours doesn't, do not attempt to install it without the O-ring, okay? So now, and make sure, so now I'm gonna prime, let's prime the pipe first, and then I'll prime my union. So again, shake, 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 make sure everything is, oops. Yeah, that can happen, that's okay. You're gonna, as long as you have nitrile, it won't burn your skin. So yeah, I'm good. So again, here we go. Now this comes with an applicator tip. The key, and this is purple. I got the purple kind so I could stain it. Again, this just softens the pipe, and that's just gonna allow the pipe to soften. Go ahead and take, if there's any excess glue out from the center, we don't want pipe primer in there. We just want primer on the outside. Again, just a nice light coating of primer. Now, when that's going on, I'm gonna grab my union here. And same thing for the union. We're just going to prime the union. I'm gonna let it drip down like that, okay? And we're just gonna, I'm gonna let that drip down. I'm gonna clean these edges off because I don't want you know, primer on these edges necessarily. Again, I'm just making sure I have a good coating of primer. I don't know why it's so saturated, but learn from my mistake, it's fine. Get the glue here. I'm gonna get the glue. And again, hopefully the glue isn't so viscous. And if it is, you could just again, the glue to this joint seal, and go ahead and just kind of clean it with your glove if you want. A little bit of glue right there. Go ahead and just make sure it covers that primer side, and clean up any unnecessary, fuck is my rack, there it is, any unnecessary joint. You don't want too much drippage going on. And now for this part, just push it in. All the way. And I'm just gonna clean up this inside here. Just make sure there's no crazy PVC glue and primer on the inside of this unit. And again, just to make sure that I'm not adding a lot of muck, okay? Clean that up. And now I'm just gonna give it a nice little clean with my damp rag. Just give it a nice little clean. Once again, clean the inside. And that's it. So we're gonna let that cure, and then you can see what's happened there. That's what we got. Again, healthy amount of glue. Push in. Don't be fucking shy with that. Push in. Okay, and then you do the other glue. I'm not gonna show you the other one, but you guys get the picture. Alright guys, so after that, everything should be done. You set up the control box, you get an electrician to wire it, because I'm not going to show you that. And then you dump a bunch of salt in your pool and enjoy. If you guys found this video helpful, please subscribe. My cats are so hungry. Bye guys.